Alright guys, so in this part of this second video we're going to be looking at peer-to-peer versus centralized web. Now if you have not already looked at the first part of this video on internet browsers, go ahead and look at that, and it's all relating to internet browsers and how the internet works as a whole. So we're going to be looking at peer-to-peer and centralized web right now. So looking back at the other video, the centralized web was the first two browsers that we looked at, which was Firefox and Chromium or Chrome, and then peer-to-peer was the Tor browser that we looked at. So we're just going to do a quick little look at what peer-to-peer is. Basically, peer-to-peer is just connecting from one computer to another through a network, which is called interconnecting nodes. And if y'all want to find out more information on peer-to-peer, just check it out on Wikipedia. A great way just to learn some information on it, because peer-to-peer is a very difficult topic to kind of grasp for the first time if you have not ever heard about P2P. So we're going to scroll down here a little bit and look at the architecture of peer-to-peer. So a peer-to-peer network is designed around the notion of equal peer nodes simultaneously functioning as both a client and servers to the other nodes on the network. This model of network arrangement differs from the client-server model, where communication is usually to and from a central server. And that is what is known as like the centralized web. Everything's going from one central computer. So like if you go and connect to Google, you're connecting into a central server or a central hub in order to gain information. And so that's how, really in a gist, P2P and centralized web is different, because peer-to-peer acts as both client and a server, whereas the centralized web acts as more of a client server where you connect into it. So a typical example of a file transfer that uses the client-server model is the file transfer protocol, and that's definitely neat to check out if you have not heard about that as well. And so that works in which the client and the server programs are distinct. The clients initiate the transfer and the servers satisfy these requests. That's kind of how P2P works. You can go and connect into one client, or you can have a client and it then gets fulfilled on the other side by the server. And if we go and look down here in this little example, in this little picture, let's say I'm this computer and I want to reach this computer. Well, the way that we do it, instead of hooking it into a central hub like right here and then having all of it go all the way out and go to all these different little, directions here, what I can do is I can link through different P2P nodes to connect to my final destination right down here. So going from my cell phone, I can connect to another cell phone or another IP address. It can then get routed to a laptop, and then finally to my final destination of my laptop that I was originally wanting to go to. So that's kind of how it works in a general sense, working with unstructured networks. Okay, well, we're going to scroll on down here a little bit and look at the security of P2P. So P2P systems, they have a different aspect for security than normal centralized web. Like any other form of software, P2P applications contain vulnerabilities. What makes this particularly dangerous for P2P software is that peer-to-peer applications act as servers as well as clients, meaning that they can be more vulnerable to remote exploits. So depending on your usage of needing to use P2P system instead of the centralized web will determine if you might have more vulnerabilities to different hacks or exploits. But for the most part, P2P systems work very well, especially if you're accessing a not very well-known server or a client on the other side. So we're also going to scroll down here a little bit further and finish up talking about P2P. Where is it? I think it was right here. Yes. Okay. So there are both advantages and disadvantages in P2P networks related to the topic of data backup recovery and availability. In a centralized network, the system administrators are the only forces controlling the availability of files being shared. If the administrators decide that to no longer distribute a file, they simply have to remove it from their servers, and it will no longer be available to users. Along with leaving the users powerless in deciding what is distributed throughout the community, it makes the entire system vulnerable to threats and requests from the government and other large forces. So basically, let's move on down here to this. But P2P networks, however, are more unreliable in sharing unpopular files, because sharing files in a P2P network requires that at least one node in the network has the requested data, and that node must be able to connect to the node requesting the data. This requirement is occasionally hard to meet because users may delete or stop sharing data at any point. Now, basically what this is just saying about file sharing and data sharing is that in a centralized web, like on YouTube or Yahoo or a major news site, they can easily go and take something down off of their website and you would not be able to find it anymore. Now, the unique thing about P2P is that as long as one person is at least sharing it, you should be able to go back and find or trace that file, recover it, whatever it is. So those were kind of the main things looking at peer-to-peer. And the reason why I covered P2P in this section of the video more than I did centralized web is because centralized web is what everybody uses on a day-to-day basis. It's your Firefox, it's your Chrome. You're accessing your emails. You're looking at your social media, your news sites. That's what the normal centralized web is. But most people do not know what P2P or peer-to-peer is, and so that's why I thought I'd give just a brief overview of what P2P is, just so that people can better understand it and better understand the uses of it. So again, P2P is different from centralized web, because centralized web, everybody accesses it as one main point, one main central hub, whereas peer-to-peer, it's connected between different computers or different nodes, so files and data can be transferred more anonymously if you would like to access the internet more anonymously. And an example of peer-to-peer would be the Tor project, and we're going to go get into Tor very shortly in another upcoming video. So I think that just about covers it for P2P and centralized web. But if you guys have any more questions, feel free to comment those below and we will get back to you with those. And if you guys would like me to go into another video explaining peer-to-peer in more depth, I will be more than happy to do that. Just let me know what y'all think. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This would be the second part to our internet browser video for our cybersecurity playlist on our YouTube channel. Well guys, I hope you definitely enjoyed this video as much as I did. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And definitely comment below any questions, concerns you may have. Well, this has been SCSurvival. Tune back in for another cybersecurity video.